What's going on, good people? Welcome back to another installment of a real estate podcast. Now, listen, let me get this off of here. Clear these things off of the thing. Let me clear these things off of the thing. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for always supporting a real estate podcast. And you guys don't understand, like, how much this means to me as a hold on, let me get some little contrast. You feel me? Hold on, let me get a little bit of contrast on there. Just a little bit of contrast. You feel me? Maybe it might add a little bit of sauce, maybe it won't. I don't know, but let's a little bit of contrast in the pocket square. All right, so today we have an investor coming on, another investor coming on, right? And I really wanted to get two sides of this story, of this coin. You feel me? So it's really important for me to get somebody of my culture, of my skin color and everything like that on my platforms. Definitely, no discrimination, no none of the other mucho, but I really want to make it a thing to where I highlight Black excellence, because it isn't highlighted enough, in my opinion, in my most humble opinion. All right. So if you get offended, hey, sorry, I'm not sorry, but this is really important. All right. So we have investor on his way to being a mogul, Sam Dolcinè, in the building. All right. He's an investor. He's a podcaster. He's the founder of Black Real Estate Dialogue. That's who we have in the building today. What? Listen, you think I wasn't going to do that? You think I was not going to have somebody of that stature on this platform? I can't believe you thought that. I can't believe you thought that. It happens though. It happens though. Now forgive me right now. I'm going, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go live. I said I'm gonna go live on my Instagram as well. That's what I said I'm gonna do. Okay, so now we can add 3 or more people to the live on Instagram. Isn't that dope? Isn't that dope? Isn't that dope? So again, we have Sam Dolcinè coming on a real estate podcast. A real estate podcast. We have Sam Dolcinè coming on to a real estate podcast. And I really want to make it a big deal. All right. So 2021, as of right now, has been great for some people, good for others. Sorry, I'm making sure the nostrils. Great for other people, good for others, bad for others, like any other year. However, the real estate market is starting to make a comeback. The mortgage rates are still very low. However, if I'm not mistaken, they're kind of creeping up a little bit. You know what? This is what I wanted to highlight, as a matter of fact, as well. One thing I really wanted to highlight, was this. I got my diploma in NLP. What? I had to let that simmer. I have my diploma in NLP, neuro linguistic programming. Also, I have my certificate in interior design. Whoa. Whoa. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Interior design as well as neuro-linguistic programming. Also within the next week and a half, excuse me, got a little burpee burp coming up. Excuse me. Also in the next week and a half, I'll be certified as a negotiations expert. These other agents can't mess with me. These other agents can't mess with me. Can't do it. Can't do it. They can't do it. You know why they can't do it? Because they just can't. I'm putting in the extra work. I'm putting in the time. I'm putting in the tears, the blood, the sweat. Everything. Let's get the knowledge up, you know? Look, it's all about levels. Oh, the pocket square. Oh, no. Oh, God. No, I didn't. Oop. Look, y'all ain't see that. Whatever. I really didn't get him either. Listen. Again, I didn't get him, so I'm not wiping my eyes with that gnat in my hand. It's a different level of real estate agent when you understand that you can never know enough. That needs to be understood. That needs to be cherished. That needs to be like held in the high regard. You feel me? Like once you know I'm here, once you know I'm here, but I can be here or all the way up here, and I need to take the necessary steps to do so, that's a dangerous real estate agent. That's a dangerous person. Honestly, like that's somebody that's not gonna like be messed with. You're not gonna be able to like downplay them. There's no ceiling. You feel me? There's nobody's gonna be able to tell him no. Nobody's gonna be able to tell him no because he tells himself yes. Do you understand that? Why would he care that somebody told him no when he told him yes? Understand this. There's going to be a lot of times where people be upset with you for doing what's best for you. That was a bar. That was crazy. Understand some people are going to be upset with you because you doing what's best for you. Understand that. Oh my gosh. Here he, the man of the hour. What's up?
How you doing, man?
What's going on? Let me put this in the gallery view. Oh man, what's going on? Sam Dolcinè is in the building. What's up, black man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just had a good day today. How you doing?
I'm all right, man, trying to catch up to you. You feel me? What's up, man?
Hey, not too much. Glad to be here. I appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you for the opportunity.
Listen, man, you too modest, man. I appreciate the opportunity for you coming over here and blessing the stage, blessing the situation. You feel me? You went out your way for this, man, and I genuinely appreciate it, man. Definitely, man.
My pleasure.
Listen, seeing a black man do what he do make me want to do what it does. You feel me?
I hear you, man. I hear you.
On a different level, man. How's your 2021 so far?
Oh, it's good. It's good. Yeah. Oh, it's been busy. It's been busy, but working towards a lot of goals, trying some new things, and just trying to continue to put one foot in front of the other. But it's been good. I can't complain. I'm healthy, still
Mhm.
employed, and in the midst of everything happening now, you can't ask for much more. So yeah, I no complaints on my end. How about you?
2021 is definitely doing good. It started off great. I'm setting high goals for myself as well. I have a goal book, rather than just like a sheet. I have a goal book, like a binder, and it has 6 pages of goals for me. And I'm adding more and more every time I check something off. You feel me?
Yeah,
I'm trying to knock my head on heaven's basement. You feel me? That's what I'm trying to do. Oh,
I hear you.
hold on. Let's get this thing right. I got to make sure the black man can see me. You feel me? I'm trying to catch up. That's all I'm trying to do. You feel me? You feel me? Now in the interim, while I get these, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, you good.
There we go. So let's get the intro with the info. You feel me? So we got Sam Dolcinè, investor, podcaster, founder of Black Real Estate Dialogue. You feel me? And not only the Instagram, but the website, blackrealestatedialogue.com. He has a course on how to start a successful podcast with a low budget and no experience, as well as a course on how to buy your first out-of-state property. Oh man, I wish I had the button for the claps. I wish I had a button for the claps, man.
Yeah,
Look, if nobody told you today, man, I want to tell you myself, I'm proud of you, brother.
thank you. I really
Definitely,
appreciate that.
definitely, man. In not only our community, but in life in general, especially entrepreneurship, it almost seems like it's a thankless job. And sometimes just those 2 words, thank you, could change your whole day, man. So I want to say thank you for everything that you're doing. And I also want to tell you I'm proud of you for everything you're doing, brother, man.
I
Appreciate it.
appreciate that. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
Of course. So now I'm gonna get into a little bit of questions I got in front of me. Pick your
Yeah.
brain on some things. Just to prepare you, I really try my best to not be as repetitive as other platforms. I
Okay.
do my best. I can't promise everything. You got a lot of content out there, but I really, really try my best, to have like a different kind of dialogue, if that's fair. Get me?
Yeah, that works. However you want to go, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Appreciate you, man. So now we see all too many times where real estate new investors go broke due to poor financial habits. What tips do you have for new investors watching this?
Yeah. So a lot of people become house poor. And a big reason for
Mm,
that is a lot of people, let's say you qualify, I don't know, for like a $200,000 mortgage. You don't necessarily have to get a $200,000 house, So a lot of people, they get as much as they're approved for on paper. And when they look at their budgets and what they got to pay every month, they're in a pretty tight spot. So somebody loses a job or whatever the case is,
mhm,
then they're in trouble. So I'd say um, I would recommend people who are investing, like, don't don't spread yourself too thin. Be conservative when you start off, and then over time, whether it's like a personal residence or an invest property, you can increase it a little bit over time instead of going for exactly what you want, your dream house or your dream investment property right away. I would recommend being conservative and also having reserves. A lot of people
mm.
buy properties with like their last, which I respect, but if something happens, you got to have money saved. You got to have extra money saved. So I think those are 2 tips that I think can help people out a lot. And it might take longer. It might take longer not having those reserves to get to your goal. But if something happens or an emergency happens, or your tenant doesn't pay or somebody loses a job, at least you have some kind of a cushion.
Got it. Got it. Now, you said 200,000, right? And I know that was just an example, but it seems like that was like I guess, common example. Where are you located at?
Yeah, so I'm located in LA, specifically in Inglewood, California. I've been here for almost 5 years. I'm actually from Brooklyn.
Oh
So I moved here from
yeah.
Brooklyn. Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
part? What part?
So near Canarsie, like Omo
Oh
Basin,
yeah.
50s area. Yeah.
That is crazy. I'm right up the block from Canarsie.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I spent like pretty much most of my life there. Started in Flatbush, then moved out there.
Mm.
But yeah, Brooklyn, born and raised.
Man. So
Yeah.
so off of that, what made you go to the West Coast then?
Yeah, so I got a job opportunity in 2016. And so I was like, I was pretty young at the time, and I'm like, there's two things that could happen. I could try out the West Coast. If I don't like it, I'll just come back. And so just packed my bags, and I've been out here ever since. So I never thought I would live out here. I never thought.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just assumed I'll be in Brooklyn for the rest of my life, and I had no problem with that. But life took a different course, and here I am, almost 5 years later.
That's crazy. Not to digress too much, but
No, no problem.
one of my good friends, Reno, we call him Reg, he actually did the same thing out of just like faith. Grew up in Brooklyn as well as I did, on the same block, and he took his last few dollars and just went to Cali. No
Wow.
place to stay, no job, no nothing, just went to Cali on faith, and he's doing great now. He visits every
Wow.
now and then, but that's your story just reminded me of that. So that's
Wow.
dope. The
Definitely, man.
is the price point in Inglewood around the 200,000-300,000 mark?
Not at all. Like, man, Inglewood, oh my gosh. I've been in Inglewood for like most of the time here. So I've been in Inglewood for about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Inglewood's just blowing up right now. So you have the Rams and Charger Stadium, like
Yeah.
a few minutes away from where I'm at. You have a train line being built that's going to go to the airport. You got a lot of, new apartments and different stuff being built. So I mean, Inglewood is very expensive right now. Definitely over $500,000 for like anything really. Um, and LA prices are pretty expensive, just like New York.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 200,000-300,000, maybe some years ago, but now not even
Now,
close.
now it's nothing. Yeah, like that's
Yeah,
why it kind of like threw me off a little bit, because 500,000 can't really get you much in New York, unless you're talking like upstate.
yeah,
Upstate it could get you, a whole bunch of space, but in the city, you could barely get you a closet.
right. It's crazy. It's yeah, same thing here. Same thing here, unless you go like further out, like far outside the city,
Mm-hmm.
where I mean, who wants to live there? But
That's crazy. All right, so like there seems to be a disconnect between the educational system and real life, right? For whatever reason, financial literacy isn't taught. Now, in your opinion, how has that impacted our community?
oh, it's impacted our community tremendously. So, you look at the average African American kid or black kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the majority of us, if we're fortunate enough to have our parents there, the majority they're just trying to make sure there's food on the table. They're just trying to make it to another day. And
Mm-hmm.
so in our households, that's not something that's talked about. Financial literacy is not something that's talked about because a lot of our parents didn't receive that type of information. And so it puts us at a disadvantage because a lot of things that other people might learn about as kids or as teens, we don't learn about, or we don't have the awareness of them until we're adults. And
Mm.
so I could speak to that. Like you know, thankfully I was blessed. I had both my parents, they worked and everything, but they didn't know anything about financial literacy. Like no one taught them anything about that. They just knew like you go to work, you raise your family, you do the best you can. And
Mm-hmm.
when I became an adult, probably like my mid 20s, I started to notice all these things, and there are people who were years ahead of me, years ahead of us, who received this information as kids, like because their parents received the information. They knew about financial literacy, they knew about investing and stuff like that. So
Mm.
it's impacted us tremendously, and it's something I would like to see implemented in schools. Like I worked in the education system for like almost 7 years, and that's something that I saw. Like they're not teaching kids about financial literacy, and it's just the regular topics, but they're not teaching about like business, about investing, about taxes or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's I don't know if that's going to change, but those of us who have the information now, the people who come behind us in our families, we can
Mhm.
now show them that information. We can share that information with them. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Um, it's definitely impacted us.
Definitely. Now, as crazy as it seems, right? I feel
Mhm.
like I feel like it should be taught around like the first or second grade and then go up from there. Do you think that's like a far-fetched belief? Like, do you think that's kind of crazy?
I don't think that's crazy at all. I don't think it's crazy at all because kids are impressionable, especially when they're very young. They can absorb information. So if you can groom a kid to have that understanding of finances in a way that is relatable to them,
Mm-hmm.
that's a win. Like even I don't know how, even if in a small way, or having them like add up their allowance or allocate their little allowance to stuff like planting those seeds in a kid even when they're very young, if it can be done in a way that they can kind of relate to and just progressively as they get older in different ways, I think it's a no-brainer. I don't think that's crazy at all because other communities are doing that. Their kids, they're this stuff is embedded in them from a young age,
Mm-hmm.
and they're able to get ahead because of it.
You know what's crazy? It's a store right across the street from our office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it blew my mind to see the guys. They're of like Indian descent. I want to say they're from Bangladesh, right?
Uh-huh.
And it blew my mind to see the son's 8 or 9 year old kid behind the counter, right? Saying this costs this much, this costs this much, so on and so forth, and even writing the checks. Like he wrote the checks to the people that were like doing a delivery. Of course, the father had to sign it, but we don't do that at all. That blew my mind.
Yep.
I,
Yep.
I,
That's how it is.
I walked out of there and almost cried. Like when is this cycle going to change for us? You feel me? Like
Mm-hmm.
when are we going to break that cycle and start, each one teach one, and we just start pulling each other up? That's exactly what needs to happen. you know. So yeah, definitely first and second grade. Before COVID started, what I was trying to do was I was trying to talk to the schools. So I was reaching out to teachers and reaching out to principals and everything like that to just see if we could try to get some like curriculums in there.
Mm-hmm.
What one thing that we didn't notice as children is the game Monopoly, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually teaching us things about real estate and so on and so forth, but we just didn't understand it. But if we
Yep.
had more things like the Monopoly game, or at least like it broken down to us in a better fashion, then we would probably be way better off junior high school, college, so on and so forth.
Yep. I agree
So
100%.
now we're only taught to be firefighters, doctors, police officers, teachers, and athletes in school. What made you want to become an investor?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So, I always thought about like business or real estate as this abstract thing, as this big thing that maybe one day I could build up to. And so, I remember just looking at my job, looking at the retirement calculator or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay, if you get a 3% raise every year until you're 60, whatever, this is how much you have. And so I basically what I did was I was like, all right, I want to take out X amount per year. And so when I did that, I'm like, dang, like this money's gonna run out. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I mean, I can keep my job, that's great, but I gotta start something else. I gotta do something else. So that was really it for me, just kind of panicking and realizing like, yo, I need to, while I'm young, like start building up other things so that when I'm old, I'll be okay. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this retirement account, like the career trajectory that I'm currently on, the end of it is not some like $200,000-$300,000 job. That's just not the nature of what I'm doing. So I
Mm-hmm.
gotta figure out something else. So that was kind of the idea for me, and why for me I'm like, look, I gotta invest in something. I gotta start somewhere, and thankfully I was able to start the podcast, which has turned into something else as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was it for me. Just realizing like I would be in a pretty tough spot if I just was relying on the retirement plan.
Now, like, why invest in real estate rather than, let's say, cars or anything? You know, like,
Yeah.
what made you say real estate is what it is?
Yeah. So for me, it was like pretty simple, really. It was like, all right, how can I generate some income? What seems kind of reliable? And for me, it's like people are always going to need a place to live. People who are wealthy, maybe they didn't make their wealth in real estate, but real estate is part of their assets. So I'm like, there has to be something to this. And then I'm just doing more research, and I'm like, all right, well, I can get cash flow. It'll appreciate over time if I have a mortgage, like a tenant can pay that down. There's tax
Hmm.
benefits, and I'm like, okay, this seems like something good. Like it wasn't like a scientific thing. It was like, all right, there's a couple uh couple indicators. And I'm like, all right, I think this is something I should do. This is something that could be good in the long term. So that was it for me. That was it for me. There's just too many benefits for me not to try to get into it. And just seeing like other successful people, it's like, all right, there's got to be something to this real estate thing.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
dope. You know, I feel like with me, I got catfished into being an agent, you know.
Mhm.
Like when once you decide you want to get into real estate, like I know it's super cliche, but I really always wanted to get into real estate. I just didn't know exactly what that consisted of, you
Mhm.
know, and I feel like that's a lot of people's, I don't want to say issue, but I guess confusion, right?
Mhm.
So I just knew I always wanted to be in real estate. I didn't know there was so many different subcategories:
Yeah.
agent, flipper, investor. You can flip contracts. It was just so many different things you can do. And I saw HGTV and I was just like, oh my gosh. You know, I just felt like, yeah, I can do that. Show people a bunch of houses and so on and so forth. That's great. You know, then I got smacked in my face like, nah. Yeah, it happens, man. I love it though. I love it though.
Yeah.
Now, 2020 happened, right? A
Mhm.
lot of people lost their job, which may have been their primary source of income.
Mhm.
Very unfortunate situation. Now, however, on the flip side, tons of entrepreneurs have been birthed in the process. If this trend continues in our minority community, do you see a potential tipping of the economic scale on our end?
I hope so. That's my hope. That's my hope.
Mm,
We know the statistics, right? We know the wealth gap and all that stuff, but and yeah, a lot of people have lost their job. It's been very sad in some ways, right? Like people have lost their jobs, people have lost loved ones. Like everybody has been affected by what's happening in some way.
mm,
Um, but on the flip side, like you said, a lot of entrepreneurs have been birthed. A lot of people, their backs have been against the wall and they had to just kind of figure out something. So, a lot of people, maybe their hours got reduced or they lost their job. And that gave them the courage to take a chance on something maybe they have been thinking about, or gave them an idea or
mm-hmm,
inspiration to start a business that's doing pretty well. So I think the bad things that have happened have brought out good things in people. So I mean, I hope so. I hope that it tips the scales. There's a lot of people who are taking chances now, who are doing things they never thought they would do as far as business. So I hope so. I hope so. I know for me, it took things to a next level for sure during the quarantine and after that.
mm-hmm.
So I just hope that everyone is able to keep up the momentum and continue to help people through their businesses.
Definitely. Now, do you believe there will be another Black Wall Street?
I hope so. I feel like we're kind of in the midst of it now. It's kind of scattered though. I
Okay.
think on the internet there's like uh, collectively, I think there kind of is. There's a lot of great entrepreneurs and people who are coming up in our community, which I think is great. I love watching these people and how they help us, how they share information. So I think we're on the way to it. I definitely think we're on the way to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is that going to be necessarily on like in like one particular city? Maybe not, but I think in different pockets of the country, there's definitely a lot of Black people who are doing great things. So I think we're heading in that direction.
What do you like? What do you think has to happen, or what do you think more of should happen to help either expedite us into that situation, or push us forward in that trajectory?
Yeah. So I think coming together, uniting. A lot of times we don't want to really collaborate with each other, work with each other, or share.
Mhm.
So I think that is one thing that will help tremendously. So I think that on one side. So on a more of a group level, and I think on an individual level, like we have everybody has a gift. Everybody has something inside of them that they can share with the world, that they can use to serve others. So I think the second part is individual, like people just kind of looking in the mirror, like what are those dreams inside of you that you've allowed to wither away, or what are
Mm.
those, what are those dreams inside of you that you're afraid to put out. We can all attest to either knowing someone or being in a situation where we have a dream, we have a goal, but we're just afraid. We're afraid to take that chance. We're afraid to put ourselves out there. And like even with me, everything I'm doing right now, I was telling somebody the other day, it's completely opposite of my personality. I'm very much a person who likes being in the background. I don't really like being seen. I just like blending in and watching. But I believe that what I'm doing is part of my purpose. And so my purpose and serving other people is more important than me being comfortable. So I think once we
Wow.
get to the point where we can just push one another and help one another kind of jump over that hump, you just never know what's on the other side. So I think it's twofold: coming together and then people just reviving those dreams that are inside.
You know, that was deep that you said that. A lot of us, right? And I really want to hone in. Like this is gonna go, everybody in the world is gonna see it, but I really wanted to do this with another brother. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of us have, call it systematic or whatever you want to call it, right? A lot of our dreams have been stripped away by, I guess, each other and ourselves, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're so taught to be fearful rather than fearless in certain things. And we just grow up with such a low amount of self-esteem that we feel like if we don't make it in rap, we can't do anything else. If we don't make it in basketball, we can't do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
The environments that we grow up in. I've been seeing it since I was 16, Sam, that, you know, if you look around, as you know, I'm from Brooklyn. So if you look around
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn, the rural part of Brooklyn, the first thing you see is a McDonald's, a Foot Locker, things like that. So when you get your working papers, you feel like I need to go get a job, right?
Yeah.
Now, once you go to the suburban areas, you got to travel to get to a Foot Locker. You have to travel to get to a McDonald's. They're not just there chilling like they are in our neighborhoods. So what has to happen, from my understanding, on my vantage point, what has to happen is the people that's in those suburban areas, they have to like figure out a different way. They have to become interns and whatever. They think of other different things, but meanwhile, we're taught to go build somebody else's dream. We taught to go build McDonald's dream, Foot Locker's dream, rather than chase our own.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what the word entrepreneur meant till I was in my 20s, and that's sad. You as a youngin, you do things to become an entrepreneur, but you just really don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So now how do you follow your dreams if you're not taught that?
Yep.
That
Yep.
that was so deep that you said that, man. Like I'll give you a quick story. When I
Yeah.
was when I was maybe 8 years old, one of my brothers, he's my best friend, but he's like a brother to me. Like we grew up together. Every stupid thing you could do when we was young, I did with him. Right. So
Yeah.
the way I learned, or the way I tapped into my entrepreneurial status, I guess, or Spirit was, I was 8. That means he was 6. And, back then, I'm 32 going on 33 now. So back then we were latchkey kids, our parents had to work a job or two to make sure we had food in the house, that's what happened. So what we would do is we would go to the Brooklyn Public Library on Eastern Parkway in Grand Ole Plaza, right? And to get money, we would like print out Dragon Ball Z pictures, right? And it was they were only in black and white, but you could get 10 pictures in color. So we would print them out, 10 for me, 10 for him, and go on Eastern Parkway and sell the Dragon Ball Z pictures to the people walking down the block, at 8 and 6 years old. And then we said, this isn't enough money for us. So imagine that, $10 a day for an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old saying this isn't enough money, $20 a day between the two of us. That's crazy. That's 140 a week between the two of us. And we said that's not enough money. So what do? We went back and started selling leaves off the floor.
Wow.
Right? We took the leaves off the floor. It was like 4. We took leaves off the floor, said, listen, we can't staple it. We have to tape it. But we got to tape it with Scotch tape because it's clear. Put it on a blank sheet of paper and sell it to the people on the Eastern Parkway. And we was making between, like, me and him, his name was Kevin, we would bring like $30 a day just from leaves, selling leaves, like actual leaves off the floor, But the reason for me bringing that up is, imagine if I would have known what I was actually doing. Where would I be now at 32, 33 years old? Where would a lot of these people be now if they were taught to like really, really, really hone in on their dreams, whether they wanted to be a doctor? Not everybody has to be an entrepreneur. Whether they wanted to work at McDonald's or whatever their dream is. Maybe their dream is to work there. There's no knock on that. But it's really just like having grasp of all the options that we have and capitalizing on all them things, man. So
definitely. That's great, man. That reminds me of a story too. Wow, that brought me back. So in high school, like my freshman year of high school, I remember I saw people on the sports team selling candy, right, for jerseys and stuff like that. And so what I noticed, So what I noticed, I noticed like people I knew, I'm like, you're not on the team. How are you selling candy? So I talked to them like, oh, this is what we do. We buy it at like BJ's or something. And this is how it works. So I'm like, bet, I'm doing it. I want some sneakers. Like, I want to be fly. I want to be fresh. So I got a box out of one of the garbage cans, like one of those M&M branded cardboard boxes. And I had my whatever little money I had, made my parents take the next trip the family took to BJ's. I'm like, I'm getting candy. They didn't really ask too much, but I remember doing that like my freshman year until I got caught, and teacher took my box, and I tried to reinvent and do Welch's. That lasted for a little while, but to your point, it's like I remember my parents was like, oh, I don't know why you're doing this. Like, we are providing for you this, that, and the other. But in my mind, I'm like, but I want the pennies. Like, I want Jordans. Like, I want all this stuff. Like, this is how I can get it. Like, I want to be fly. You know how it is growing Brooklyn. Exactly. Like, if you're not fresh, you're getting roasted,
OD, quick fast.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm trying to I want to have some money in my pocket. I want to fit in or whatever. But it's crazy at such a young age. And obviously, you move on from that. But yeah, imagine if I could have channeled that, or I was encouraged by someone to maybe try something else instead of selling candy, which I technically wasn't supposed to do, since I was at that time not on the team or whatever. But yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like, kids kids are creative, man. Kids are creative. Kids are sponges and not afraid to try things. So
that's why they like the kids are what the purest form of like humans, right? They're fearless. Yeah. They just go out and get it. It's the adults. We the ones that messed them up. Keep it a being with you. It's the adults, we the ones that messed them up. They want to go and get it. They want to climb on things. They want to stand at the ledge of things and whatever they want to do, but it's us with our fears and our failures and say, no, you can't do that. Don't do that. you know, and kind of messed him up, almost like in A Pursuit of Happiness when Will Smith took Christopher's ball away. You know,
Yeah.
that movie made me cry like 4 times, but you know, it
Yeah.
is what it is. You know,
Yeah.
now there's a lot of people that want to get in the real estate industry. However, capital and credit may deem to be the insecurity, right? What is the best way to break through this wall?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that's a good question. That's a good question. So it's a big thing, right? Not having capital. So a lot of people like to, some people, their entry is like wholesaling, which is, it takes a lot of work, to wholesale, to get some wholesale deals going, to build your pipeline of buyers and sellers and stuff, to learn how to find the deals and analyze the deals. But a lot of people get started through wholesaling because you don't really need much capital.
Mm-hmm.
Some people partner with others. So let's say you don't got no money, but you have credit. Somebody who has money but doesn't have credit, maybe you could partner with them or vice versa. And other than that, I would say just try to get your income up. So whether that's like working or getting like a side hustle or something like that, that's something else that I would say. But I would say maybe you want to think about maybe some capital, but it's limited. You may want to consider seller financing if you want to invest in a property, which
Mm,
basically you and the seller's like the bank, and a lot of times those terms are more flexible. So that's something to look into. And then outside of that, again, just getting your income up. If someone listening is having issues with that, I would just say, it's good to like save and budget and stuff. But you come to a certain point where you just need to make more money. So
mm-hmm.
that's one thing. That's what I would say.
That's dope. It's great that you brought up seller financing as an option. That's not something I've even thought of myself as a real estate agent. So for those that don't know, seller like Sam says, seller financing is when the seller or the owner acts as the bank. So you give them the down payment, so on and so forth, and then you just keep paying them as if they were as if that was your mortgage, you know. Possibly more expensive due to the risk that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as a person, they don't have millions of dollars like the bank does. So they're probably
Mm-hmm.
going to, instead of a low 3% interest rate like we have now in New York, they'll probably charge you an 8% interest rate because they're taking a bigger risk,
Yeah.
you know. So that's typically how that works. Now, a lot of people, again, back on the getting into the industry as far as investing, a lot of people say, damn, I have $15,000. I don't know nobody that's gonna help me. All I know is scamming or this, that, and the third. They're trying to change their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to change their life, but all they know is what the hood taught them, right? So they don't have in SOI, sphere of influence is what we call it as real estate agents and brokers. They don't have somebody they could just reach out to and say, hey, can you help finance this project I'm trying to work on? You know, my credit is shot. I didn't know about credit growing up, you know, please help, please help. Like, where do we find the resources to reach out to those type of people?
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great question. That's a reality, right? That's a reality. So, that's really a big reason why I started my podcast, because it's like this we need this information. We need to know that,
Mm-hmm.
the strategies people are using. We need to know all this information. So I would say just like go into your podcast app, look for real estate podcasts, look for real estate pages on Instagram, whether that's mine or the millions of others that exist. I would say just try to absorb as much information as you can from these kind of websites, these kind of shows. Go on YouTube, follow people like you. That's what I would say. Just get all the information you can, and then jump. Like, don't just jump because you got money. Because if you go out to people saying, "Oh, I got 15K, or I got however many, I need help," you might end up in a bad situation, and someone
Mm-hmm.
might try to take advantage of you. So I would say just educate yourself as much as possible, before deciding like which direction you want to go in.
Got it. And my last two questions for you.
Mhm.
Well, I three, if I have
Yeah, of
enough time.
course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, plenty of time.
All
Yeah.
right. So, what are your top three books on investing?
Yeah. I like Think and Grow Rich, Black Choice. I believe it's by Dennis Kimbro. That's a really good one. Let's
Think and
see.
Grow Rich
Yeah, Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice.
of Oh, so it's a flip on it. I
Yeah,
didn't know about that.
yeah. There's a black version. Yep,
Oh,
it's
that's
good.
fire. I didn't know about that. I know about
Yep.
the what's that, Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
That is dope. Think and Grow
Yeah, but it's
Rich,
dope.
the black
It's
version.
dope.
That's
Yep,
fire.
it's dope. Like Dennis Kimmer, like he goes through just different black people just who do different things and just how they got there and just different. It's like it's very relatable. So I like that one. And then there's one called Black Fortunes. I think
Mm,
it's Black Fortunes, the story of, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 black entrepreneurs who became millionaires after slavery. So that
fire.
one's really dope. Yeah, that one blew my mind, man, because it's
Fire.
like, yo, like you mean to tell me y'all came out of slavery and y'all all this stuff that was going on back then and y'all were still successful. So that was very inspiring.
Like, like, like the actual slaves or like like the people after them, like the successors after them.
So, for off the top of my head, some of them, like their parents were slaves, or some of
Mm-hmm.
them were slaves themselves.
Jeez.
So these are people like in the 1800s, I guess, early 1900s.
Wow.
Yeah. It's that I read that book. I think I read that book in like a day or two. I couldn't put it down. I literally couldn't put it down.
That's
It's
fire.
it's mind blowing. Like what people were doing back then. It's like, yeah, yeah. So that's a
Yo,
good one.
that leaves no excuses, like no room for excuses. Like if
That's what I
you
thought.
were a slave or your direct parents were slaves and they became milk, oh my gosh. You don't know how hype you just got me, bro. Like
You got to
that's
get that book. You got to get that book. I'm
what?
telling you. Yep. Black Fortunes. You got
Oh
to get it.
man, I'm writing that down. Black, that's fire. I'm
Yeah.
listening, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like some of them, like, unfortunately, they lost it for different reasons.
Of
But I'm
course.
telling you, just the story is just like, wow. Back then, that's pretty good. You said three. Three. Um, yeah. I can't think of a third one, but I'd say those two.
Those two right
Those two are
there.
a good start. Yeah.
So then, what are your top 3 tips for financial stability then?
Yes. So one is create a budget. Um, yeah, create a budget. I know it's not the cool thing to do, but it's it's important. It's important to know where your money is going. And that's not to say you need to, you know, like eat bread and cheese every day, but create a budget, pay yourself first, pay yourself something. I know people are in different situations, but try to build a habit of paying yourself something. And then third, increase your income. After you budget, after you save something, you got to make more money. The
Mm,
majority of us are not in jobs where just saving our working income can really make a dent, can really help us towards our goals. So the majority of us, myself included, we need to have another source of income. So just think about what your talents are. Think about what your interests are. Think of if there's products you can create or something like that. So that's what I would say too, because this there just literally just comes a point where you gotta have more of a gap in between yourself and the job, just so you can enjoy life, so you can invest, so you can just do different things. Yeah, the majority of us, we can't do all of that with just a 9 to 5 income and just saving what we're able to from that. Most of us, it's not enough. So
hmm.
those would be my tips.
That's definitely the truth. I tell you this. Nobody thought Corona was going to hit. Well, none of the public knew Corona was going to hit. So if you didn't have what they say 6 months emergency fund or like a side hustle or something on the side, you was like put in a devastating situation.
Yep.
you know so it's great that you said that, like just increasing your income. Sometimes asking for a raise isn't going to be enough at your job.
Hmm.
You're going to go from, let's just say, $10 to 10.50. How much can that really do? You got to raise, but you got to do something on the side, and then possibly build your side income to the level where that's your main income and your actual 9 to 5 becomes your 9 to 12. you know, and possibly phase it out from there.
Yep.
That's dope, man.
Yep.
That's dope. Now, here's what I ask everybody that comes on the podcast. That in marathons, there's something called a wall, right? Where you feel like you can't go any further, it's too hard, you can't take it no more, you want to give up. Has there ever been a situation in your adult life where you hit a wall? If so, how did you get over it?
Oh man. Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. So, all right. So, my job that I was at previously, I think in August or September, they cut my salary by 25%. They said,
Mm,
due to COVID, and I was working, yep. I was working at a school at the time, and they were like, due to COVID and all this stuff, like we can't reduce. And I worked in HR at that time. So they're like, oh, we can't cut the teachers because they're essential. We can't cut their hours. So we look through everybody based on your salary. We got to choose you. So at that point, I'm like, I was devastated, man. I'm like, I've been wanting to leave this job. And I'm like, that was a gut punch for me. But I'm like, yo, I I could either sulk, I could be upset, or I could dedicate more time to my side hustle with those hours that I'm missing from work.
mm-hmm,
And so that really gave me the courage to put out my out of state course, which did well in the last quarter of last year. And so, for me, if I'm feeling bad about something, I give myself like a day to like be in my feelings, and then it's like, all right, what are you gonna do now?
mm,
And so for me, I'm like, I gotta just double down. I gotta double down on helping people. I gotta double down on all these things. And so that was it for me. That was the wall that I hit most recently, and I've hit
mm-hmm,
many walls, but that's like the most recent one. That was like a gut punch because it's like you work hard, and at that time I realized like, yo, as much as nice as these people are to me, I'm just a statistic. I'm just a number to them. Like
mm.
I'm literally a line item on the budget. Like the way they determined that they wanted to lower my salary is simply by looking at the spreadsheet, seeing where they can make cuts, and they selected me to make a cut on. So that's kind of
That's crazy.
yeah, that became very real to me because you see it online. People say stuff, this, that, and the other, but that's just a situation. Thankfully, a couple months after I was able to get another job, but yeah, that was a tough situation. I didn't feel like I deserved it, but I just had to make a choice. I'm like, uh, I'm gonna do what I got to do, or not. So yeah, man.
Thanks for sharing that because a lot of people, people need to hear it, you know? Like they see us and they see like, I guess the good or whatever, and they just have this misconception that everything's all good all the
Mm-hmm.
time when it's not, you know,
Mm.
for
Yep.
especially for somebody successful as yourself, you know, somebody that's following their dreams and doing what they have to do. They see it as it was possibly given to you, or it was just easy, you know, like we just get up every day and jump rope, you know, like it's
Yeah.
not easy. Now, last question just came to my mind. I'm sorry. I gotta ask,
No, no, you're good. You're good. You're good. I got time. No worries.
what is your craziest real estate story?
Man. So, um, craziest real estate story. Yeah. So currently I self-manage a property in Ohio, and I live in California. And so I let go of my property manager maybe like about 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And about maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I get an email from the tenant on a Sunday. She said, "Hey, my heat is not working. The furnace is not working." And I was just like, all right, I'm gonna get back to you as soon as possible. So I know someone else out there, and I texted her. I said, "Hey, this lady's heat is off. Like, what am I supposed to do? Do you have any connections or anything?" So she gave me a heating company. So I called them up and I said, "Hey, this is going on." They said, "Oh, have her take the filter out. We can't get out there today, but we can get out there tomorrow." So I'm like, "Oh my God, I gotta tell this lady that her and her family gotta sit
In the
with like
cold.
sit with space heaters in the Midwest." And so thankfully, the next day they got there bright and early. They fixed the issue. But in my mind, I'm like, yo, I got to get this done as soon as possible because, like, you can't just have the person there with no heat. But it got fixed in less than 24 hours. But as far as crazy story, that's like top of mind. I'm really glad that it got fixed. Just because, like, whatever the cost was, whatever the cost, it's just a matter of making sure that she's safe, her family's comfortable, and everything. But that was like kind of nerve wracking. But thankfully, I have somebody I know there who connected me directly to a good company. They were very fast communicating with me, and you know, they're on Eastern time. But by the time I was up here, they already had called me like, "Hey, like we went there, we met with them. You can pay right now if you want to. These are the issues that happened. This is what you should do." So thankfully, it wasn't worse. But that's definitely the crazy story, the craziest recent story.
How does your anxiety work, man, like that? Like I know a lot of landlords in New York that when things happen, they panic. You just said Ohio.
Yeah.
You're you're in LA, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in California. So it's like, huh? Like, oh my gosh, I gotta get some. Like, how does your anxiety work? Like, how do you fix that? Like,
yeah. So very early on, I knew that if I was going to do that, I had to learn how to get things done through other people. And I think I felt better about it because it was in my control as opposed to the property manager who I didn't really have a good experience with. And so I was very nervous. Like I was very nervous. But I knew I had that one person, and it's very important to like have a network wherever you invest in that, whether it's local or somewhere else. And she helped me feel comfortable. She's like, do this, tell them this. Like she told me what to do. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll just let her know. We'll take care of it in the morning. And I felt better about it. And just having people involved who are communicating well, I'm like, and just knowing I'm doing the best I can. Like I went to sleep that night. I'm like, I did everything I could do today. They'll fix it tomorrow. She said she has space heaters. It won't heat up the whole house. But by tomorrow morning, it should be fine. And bright and early, they got it done. But I think overall, like I just realized I had to get things done through other people. Like I'm not there, right? Anything could be going on, but I have somebody I can call. Hey, you want to drive by real quick, checking on this, checking on that. The tenant is good, so it's not it's. I don't most days I don't think about it at all, unless it's like close to the beginning of the month. But yeah, that's what I would say. It's just a matter of getting things done through other people. Everybody's temperament is not made for that, which I understand. But for me, I'm like, all right, I'm not there. I got to trust that things are going as they should over there. And if they're not, I have people who can go and check on stuff. So that's what I would say. But that was a crazy night.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Delegation is I always management delegation is key.
Yep.
It's in networking because if you can't network, you can't delegate. You can't delegate, you can't network, and you can't get things done. Like you cannot go from Cali to Ohio like that and fix the heat. You can't.
Yep.
So you have to nurture relationships with people, Like that's super important, man. Listen, Sam, I really, really, really appreciate you, man. I told you I wasn't gonna keep too much of your time, man. Time is life, man. If I could sum up time in a word synonymous is life, to both things you can't get back. So you gotta protect time with your life, man. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. If you ever want me to come back on, I'll be more than happy. So I enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun.
Definitely. I appreciate you, man. You have a safe night. More success to you, more wealth to you. And again, brother, I'm proud of you. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing for our community. Thank you so much for the podcast. Thank you so much for the website. Thank you so much for the emails, for the Instagram. Thank you so much just for being here. Mean a lot to me, man. And hopefully whether you come to New York or go on the West Coast, we link up, drinks on me, we chill, we bust it up.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Can you post it on this? Let me know how I can promote and help and everything. But yeah, I look forward to hearing this.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you, man. Have a great one.
Thank you, bro. Take care.
Later.